Sticking in the college football world, we have our college football playoff semifinal picks. We're down to 4 teams. We had some big upsets in the quarterfinals. Ohio State, of course, fell to Miami. Georgia also fell to Ole Miss in a fantastic game. Georgia was both of our national championship picks. Then you had Oregon shutting out Texas Tech and Indiana just doing whatever they wanted to Alabama. So we've got Indiana and Oregon facing off, as well as Miami and Ole Miss for a trip to the national championship. Let's start with the first game of the week. We have Miami and Ole Miss tomorrow as we're recording this. The Hurricanes are 3.5-point favorites with a 52.5-point over-under. Who wins this one, Braden?
Whoever wins this game will be whoever wins the stylistic advantage. Miami has a great defense. Ole Miss has an elite offense. Miami's offense is kind of middle of the pack for the most part. Mark Fletcher is phenomenal, but their passing game has been iffy when Malachi Toney isn't going for like 150 yards. And then for Ole Miss, their defense has been kind of up and down, mostly down when they're playing against other power conference opponents. I think Ole Miss is able to get this one done. I don't trust Carson Beck to have 3 clean games in a row. He's shown a penchant for making a lot of mistakes over the course of his college career so far. Had 2 games this year with 3 or more interceptions. I don't know if he'll have to throw, multiple interceptions against Ole Miss for them to lose. I don't expect him to throw multiple interceptions. But if he throws 1 with how good this Ole Miss offense is, that could be enough. So I'm going to take the Rebels to win. I'm going to take, obviously, the Rebels to cover. And I will lean towards the over. I'm going to say Ole Miss by a score of 34-31.
And yeah, this would be a monumental win for each program. Both of whom have faced a ton of adversity this year. Nobody thought either team would still be alive at this point. It would certainly appear, like you said, that Ole Miss is the far better team offensively. Miami has not eclipsed 300 yards in either of their playoff games, and Ole Miss just put up 474 yards of offense against Georgia. For perspective, that is more than the Bulldogs allowed against Georgia Tech and Alabama combined. Ole Miss is playing for each other and their new head coach, Pete Golding, and they're playing some damn good football. However, Miami has suffocated Texas A&M and Ohio State, allowing a combined 17 points in those games. And as good as the Ole Miss offense looked against Georgia, it kind of seems like Miami is just on another level defensively right now. They have a whopping 12 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, and 4 interceptions in those 2 games. But it's very hard to say that they can just do that same thing to Ole Miss after seeing them torch the Georgia defense, especially in that second half. I think this will be a 1-possession game. I think it might come down to who has the ball last. I'm going to take Miami. I think they win on a game-winning interception in the final minute or 2. I think Ole Miss will cover the 3.5. And I'm going to take the under, and I will say final score of 24-21 in favor of the Hurricanes. And then the other game on Friday, we have Indiana at Oregon, a rematch of a couple Big Ten teams. Indiana is a 3.5-point favorite with a 47.5-point over-under. Who do you like here, Braden?
Yeah, both these teams have been absolutely dominant so far in the playoff. Oregon, James Madison put up some good yardage and point totals, but Oregon controlled that game the entire way. And then against Texas Tech, obviously that defense was unbelievably good. However, Indiana just steamrolled Alabama in every facet of the game. The offense was clicking and the defense was complete lockdown on a fairly solid Alabama offense, albeit one that's had some inconsistencies over the course of the year. I'm going to go with the Hoosiers in this one. They looked more complete on both sides of the ball. I understand Texas Tech's defense is absolutely incredible, but Dante Moore was a little bit up and down for a lot of that game. I think the Ducks really only had one actual drive where they put up points, and it was at the very end of the game. So I'm going to take the Hoosiers in this one. I think they get it done by a score of 27-23. So I will take, what's the line in that one?
47.5.
Okay, so I'll take the over in that one.
Yeah, it's awfully hard to look at the Rose Bowl and say that Indiana is not the clear title favorite this year. Like you said, they dominated Alabama in literally every single facet of the game. It felt like Indiana versus Purdue. Alabama looked that bad. But we said before the first round that it's hard to beat a team twice. And we've seen that with Alabama beating Oklahoma, with Ole Miss beating Georgia. And Oregon themselves is playing some damn good football. They just shut out a very, very good Texas Tech team. And outside of one broken run, Texas Tech was held to 2.7 yards per play. The first time these teams played, the final score was 30-20. That included a pick six for Oregon. So their offense only put up 13 points. And like you said, Dante Moore really struggled. I expect another low-scoring game. I will take the under at 47.5 points. When we did our predictions before the first round, I had Oregon knocking off Texas Tech and then beating Indiana. I'm going to stick with what I had. I will take Oregon to win outright and knock off the number one seed. I will say final score of 23-20. And I'll be honest, I think this is the real national championship. I would take either of these teams over Miami or Ole Miss, not necessarily comfortably, but I would not have to go very back and forth on who I would choose. I think this is the real national championship.
Yeah, I concur. And I like how we have different picks for both matchups. I feel like we're usually on the same page for like, I don't know, maybe 75% of our games we predict. So kind of nice.